Hadis, hydro.
Philic.
Okay, what's the meaning of hydrophilic, Saudat?
It loves the water.
What's the meaning of hydrophobic?
It doesn't like the water. Repelled by water.
Okay, Munisa, which substances can cross the cell membrane? Hydrophilic or hydrophobic substances? Which one do you think?
Hydrophobic.
Hydrophobic can easily cross the membrane, right? That's good. What about hydrophilic, Mahbuba?
Hydrophilic is attracted to water.
Attracted to water. Can the hydrophilic substances cross the cell membrane?
No.
No, what they need Saudat to cross.
I don't know.
Munisa?
I don't know too.
Mahbuba?
Maybe they need hydrophobic to move, like
They
their
need
top.
any channels, right? They need the channels to pass. The substances, they need the channels to pass through the membrane. Okay, what kind of channels we're going to learn today? Okay,
Yes.
4 ways of passage of substances. So that
I don't remember. Active diffusion.
okay. What else?
Don't remember.
Munisa,
Can you repeat the question?
Munisa, my question
Yeah.
is, what kind of 4 ways of the passage of substances through the membrane?
Channels, like
Ways, 4 ways. Mahbuba?
Diffusions, like simple one, and transportation, like active transportation, and yeah, transport. They need to ways to move.
Yeah, 4 ways. 4 ways. You counted 2, simple. And after that, the active. What else?
Like simple one, and active transport, bulk transport.
Bulk transport and
Yes. And
facilitated,
also, yes,
facilitated diffusion. So that can you repeat?
active diffusion, facilitated diffusion, simple, and bulk.
Bulk transport. That's good. Right. Any questions to me from the previous lecture? Was it clear to you?
Yes.
Can you see the presentation now?
No.
Okay, so is it visible now?
Yes.
Okay, so in the last lecture we stopped it here, 4 ways of passage of substances, right? Gülhayo, you here? Gülhayo Akbarova. The first is simple diffusion. So simple diffusion. The second is phospholytic diffusion, and after that, active transport, and we have the bulk transport. So let's learn from the simple diffusion. Actually, before entering to the simple diffusion, my question for you is, what's concentration? What is concentration?
Концентрация.
What is it? What do you understand with it? I need the explanation.
It's about how many things in one spot are.
What do you say, Darina?
I said it's like how many things are in one spot together.
Yes, this is the amount of the substances. This is the amount of the substances. The real substances that we need is called the concentration. The concentration means something without the extra substances. For example, without the water molecules, for example. If you want to make the coffee, right? If you want to make a coffee, if you want the higher concentration, you will use more coffee beans and the less water, right? So the beans are more concentrated, the more coffee in the beans compared to the made coffee. In the made coffee, we have the water, right? So the concentration of the coffee molecules, the concentration of the caffeine is less in the made coffee compared to the real coffee bean, right? In the real coffee, there is no water, but in the made coffee, we have a lot of water molecules. That means the concentrated one is coffee, the beans. Okay, this is how we explain the concentration. Or if you want to make a juice, for example, if you want to make a juice, um, you have two ingredients. The first is the fresh fruit, fresh fruit to make the juice, and the second you have the the dried fruit under the sun or under the, I don't know, under the oven. It's dried fruit. For example, the apricot. You have the fresh apricot and you have the dried apricot, right? So, which juice will be more sweeter? Do we have anyone who prepared the juice?
The fresh one will be sweeter.
If Darina's answer is the fresh juice will be more sweeter. I have 1 kilo
No,
of the
no,
fresh fruit.
no,
I
no.
have
I
one.
I
I,
I I was wrong. Because in the fresh one there is more water in it. But in the dried there is no water and this there is just the fruit. So in the dry one there will be more.
that makes sense. So I have one. Let's say like this. I have 1 kilo of the fresh apricot, and I have 1 kilo of dried apricot, and I am making the juice out of them. Which one has which one which one I mean juice will be more sweeter? Munisa, what do you think?
I think fresh.
Fresh
The
from
dry
Munisa.
one.
Have you ever prepared Munisa?
In fresh because there are more sugar
Uh-huh.
and so the concentration of fresh will be more
Okay, Mahbuba,
and
what do you
sweeter.
think?
Well, I don't know. It depends how you prepare. Like, with dry one you can also do sweeter due to you add some ingredients like water or something like sugar with dried one, but with a fresh one you need only the fruit, I think, and water also, and use some как там соковыжималку.
I don't mean this kind of juice. I want you get the dish and you pour the water, you put the ingredients and you boil. This kind of juice. Did you get
Oh,
my point? It's not
yeah,
about
I
the
got it.
soccer with the mouth.
I don't know, like I don't care which is sweeter. If we add
Oh, that's
the
uh-huh.
some sugar, I think both of them will be sweeter. But with fresh one, I think it's not like you can't like boil the fresh fruit.
Okay. So
It's
that
disgusting.
oh
Usually dried apricot is more sweet, like it's sweeter. So I think dried one would be sweeter.
okay. Can you conclude, Darina? Good.
Yes, I believe the dry one will be sweeter due to the fact that in the fresh fruit there is much more water in it. It contains much more water. And the dried one is obviously dried, so it does not have any water in it, and it mostly have just sugar. So obviously the dried version will be sweeter.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for your answers. I'm not good at making juices, but my grandma, my mom, a lot of they cook a lot and they do the juices a lot. From that experience, I want to say that the dry fruit juice is more sweeter compared to the fresh fruit. Why? Because I said 1 kilo and 1 kilo. The concentration of the sugar molecules in dried fruit is more compared to the fresh fruit. Fresh fruit, for example, if you buy 1 kilo of the fresh fruit, there will be 20% or 10% of the sugar, and others will be water. But in 1 kilo of the dried, there will be 90% or 95% of the sugar because we removed the water molecules. That's why the dried will be more sweeter. What I want to explain from this example is that I wanted to explain you the concentration. That means the concentration of the sugar in dried fruit is more compared to the concentration of the fresh fruit. Okay, because there is a lot of water molecules, as Darina said, there are a lot of water molecules which make the sugar molecules less concentrated. But in dried one, we removed already the water. That's why we call it dry. That means a lot of sugar molecules in the dried one. Okay, this is the explanation of the concentration. This is how I imagine the concentration. So imagine this is the cell membrane. This one is the cell this is the cell actually. And let's look at the cell membrane. So in the cell membrane, I want to move substances into the cell. I want to move substances from the outer sources. From the out, I want to make it to go inside. So that means which substances can cross easily through this membrane? Can you help me? Which substances can cross easily? Hydrophilic or hydrophobic ones?
Hydrophobic?
Exactly, hydrophobic. Hydrophobic. Why? Because we have here phospholipid bilayer, and in the phospholipid bilayer, those tails are hydrophobic. They do not, they don't let the fluids or water molecules to pass through because this is the isolated space. Only the hydrophobic substances which hate the water can cross this membrane because the tails are hydrophobic as well. So imagine the cell needs oxygen. The cell needs oxygen. You know how to write the oxygen molecules? So the oxygen should get into the cell, right? This oxygen should get into the cell to make the ATP molecules. What these oxygen molecules are going to do, they're going to pass through this membrane. But as we know, these oxygen molecules do not have the brain. They don't know to which cell they should enter, right? They don't know that inside of the cell we have the less oxygen, but outside we have more oxygen in the outside of the cell. So these oxygen molecules, as you can see here, in the first part of this image, the oxygen molecules are extracellularly. They are outside. They are outside. So they should get into the inside. They should get into inside. But what forces those molecules to get inside? What do you think? How they going to get inside? They don't have the brain. They cannot think. They don't. Do they have any instructions? What do you think? How they going to get inside? Any ideas? Just express your ideas, even you make a mistake.
They can't. Why they can't cross with oxygen? They need something to inside.
Maybe inside something is pulling, right? You mean this?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other ideas?
How about carbon dioxide?
It's also gas. It should go outside, right? We have more carbon dioxide inside, and it should go outside. But how that happening? How they doing? How the molecules are doing this? Have you ever imagined this? Okay, let me tell you. This is also because of concentration. This is also because of concentration. We say it concentration gradient, okay? As you can see here, we have a lot of concentration of oxygen molecules outside, a lot of concentration of oxygen molecules outside, and we have the less oxygen molecules inside. What those molecules are going to do, they're going to use the concentration gradient, okay? If inside of the cell we have less oxygen and outside we have more oxygen molecules, they're going to move down the concentration gradient. That means they're going to move from higher concentration to the lower concentration. Outside is more and inside is less, so they move according to the concentration. So concentration is high here. They're going to push each other. They're going to push each other, and those oxygen molecules are going to go inside until it fills. Okay, until we fill the cell. So outside is more, they're going, as you can see here from extracellular fluid, they start to move inside. They start to move inside down the concentration gradient. Okay, and at the end you will have the equal amount of concentration in both parts. Okay, that's how they move according to the concentration. So we are making the inside concentration and outside concentration more. But what about carbon dioxide? This is the vice versa of this reaction. Carbon dioxide is more inside, so we should let them go out. As the concentration gradient of carbon dioxide more inside, they start to move according to the concentration gradient to outside. Okay, and oxygen and carbon dioxide, both of them are hydrophobic substances. They cross the membrane easily through phospholipid bilayer without any askings, without any permissions. It's open for them. It's like an open boundary to them. Okay, got this point?
Yes.
So that we call the passive diffusion. That's how it's called, simple diffusion. Okay, so simple diffusion, this is the flowing naturally down the concentration gradient. That means from the area of the high concentration, from the area of the higher concentration to the area of the lower concentration. That's how we explain the simple diffusion. Which substances can cross easily without permission? In simple diffusion, we say only hydrophobic substances can cross. Hydrophobic substances means they are lipid soluble. Soluble in the lipids. That means they are lipid in nature. Okay, they can cross the lipid bilayer here, the hydrophobic tails. Okay, and what are the examples to the simple diffusion? The example for the simple diffusion is oxygen. The first one is oxygen. The second is carbon dioxide. And then steroid hormones and the cholesterol. Okay, those are the examples to what? To simple diffusion. Okay,
Yes.
any questions? And this process requires no energy. You do not need the energy for this process. This process is free. Moving of oxygen molecules into the cell is free. You don't have to go to the KFC, buy the chickens, and eat and making energy in order to transport oxygen molecules into your cells. Okay, this is free of charge. No energy is required for this process. At this point, any question? I guess no. So you know what's oxygen? This is the gas. You know what's carbon dioxide? This is also a gas that we release, right? That not only us, all organic molecules, they're going to burn and they're going to release the carbon dioxide, right? And oxygen molecules, they're very essential for the living things. All living organisms almost they use the oxygen, right? In order to function, in order to why the oxygen we need? What do you think? Why we need the oxygen? Why you breathe and make yourself to get that oxygen? Why?
To survive.
Yeah, and I understand. It's simple. Only the child can also answer that to survive. But
Yeah.
as a teenager or grown up person, you have to know why we breathe, why oxygen we need in order to breathe, in order to survive. Why oxygen, not another gas? To make ATP. This is for making the ATP molecules. Through the aerobic respiration, you make more ATP. You make 10 times, 20 times more ATP compared to the anaerobic respiration. With anaerobic respiration, without the oxygen, your cells are going to produce only few molecules of the oxygen. But with aerobic respiration, you're going 2 molecules of ATP. But with aerobic respiration, you're going to make 36 to 40 molecules of ATP. That's more than 20 times, okay? So steroid hormones, what are the steroid hormones? Have you ever heard this terminology? What are the steroid hormones?
Things to grow muscle.
What?
A thing to grow muscle.
To grow muscles, it seems Darina is going to go to gym every day. Because only a person who goes to the gym, they know that a lot of athletes, they use the steroid hormones, but what's behind the steroid hormones? What are they? What's hormone actually? Monisa, what do you think? What's hormone?
I have never heard about this hormone.
What's actually hormone?
Hormone?
Mahbuba, what's hormone?
This is the substances that can like tell your body what to do, like about our mood, also like sleep, hunger. We need like we have a lot of like hormones like testosterone, uh, dopamine, like something like this. Hormone of like happiness. It's like
Do
our
you have
body needs.
testosterone?
No, it's for males. Yes, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
Okay.
women do have testosterone.
What do you think, Darina?
I believe women do have testosterone.
Every woman have the testosterone, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good point. What do you know about hormones, Darina? What's hormone?
Um, I have no idea. I have basic knowledge in biology.
Okay. So that. What do you think? What's hormone? Just like Akbarov, maybe you know.
I have no idea too.
Okay. What about Jasur? Bilhayo. Bilhayo Akbarova. You have to unmute. Okay. So yes, hormones are substances which release into our bloodstream to our blood and do exactly a job. They do the job. As Mahbuba mentioned, they control our appetite, they control our mood, they control our muscle growth, they control our bone growth, they control our systems, for example, heart, they control our digestive system. Everything is controlled by hormones. So, yes, regarding the steroid hormones are another name for the steroid hormones are what do you think?
Testosterone?
You only know the testosterone, right? You're continuously telling testosterone, because on
No,
YouTube, on
I mean,
Instagram,
I just thought that women who use steroids, they become more manly. That's why maybe it's like somehow related to each other.
steroid hormones are lipid hormones. They are lipid-based hormones. So that means they affect hormones. Yes, they increase the muscles in the males. They increase the characteristics of the female. They do exactly what the female should have, only by hormone, only by steroid hormone. Or they do exactly the things which make male male. So secondary characteristics. For example, I can make an example to the steroid hormone. The first that you love is testosterone. The first steroid hormone is testosterone. Testosterone. This is the anabolic steroid. This steroid is a hormone, actually, lipid-based hormone. It contains the lipid. That means are they hydrophilic or hydrophobic? If it's lipid-based hormone, are they hydrophilic or hydrophobic?
Hydrophobic.
Hydrophobic?
Of course, they are hydrophobic. So testosterone, this is the male hormone, and it contains in the females as well. The males have thousands times more testosterone compared to the female. So they increase the muscle. They increase the muscle growth. Those who go to the gym, males or females, in order to grow their muscles, they use the testosterone. Okay, and also they increase the body height, and also it increase male characteristics. If they are going to make your shoulders very wide, your muscles to grow, your voice tone more low pitched. That means male voice. They're going to make the male voice more lower pitched, right? They're going to make more muscular. So this is the function of the testosterone. This is mainly the male hormone. And the second steroid hormone is estrogen. What's estrogen?
Estrogen is like a woman hormone.
They are the woman, mainly they are the woman hormone. So what's the function of the estrogen? How they play a key role in human organism?
Reproduction.
They do the reproduction. Every girl characteristics, right? They make the voice of the female more higher pitched. They make the skin more smoother. They're going to make only female characteristics. Every female characteristics are because of this estrogen hormone. Every male characteristics, they are because of the testosterone. And we have progesterone as well. What's progesterone?
No idea.
It's also female hormone, okay? They also play a key role in female characteristics. For example, the menstrual cycle controlled by estrogen and progesterone in females. If you have any problem with progesterone or estrogen, the menstrual cycle is going to be disturbed in females, okay? So if you disturb the menstrual cycle, that means your body is also disturbed. So something is wrong with the body. So those who have problems in that should go to the doctor as soon as possible or endocrinologist. And we have the androgens. We have the androgens. Androgens are also male hormones. Okay, they are also male hormones. In the males, we have the androgens and testosterone for the steroid hormones. And for females, we have estrogen and progesterone. They are also steroid hormones. Why I mentioned them, they are the examples of simple diffusion. So they don't need any energy. No energy is required to pass through the membrane. Okay, they do not need any energy to pass through the membrane for the steroid hormones. They're going to pass through the simple diffusion as well. Okay, oxygen, carbon dioxide. Now you know the steroid hormones, estrogen, progesterone, androgens, and testosterone. And also the last example, but we have a lot of examples, of course. But the last one in this slide is cholesterol. What do you understand by cholesterol?
Like it's in our blood.
Okay,
Cholesterol.
cholesterol, their function. What's their function? The function of cholesterol.
They make the cell membrane.
No, the cell membrane is in the cell membrane we have a little amount of the cholesterol. That's 100%. That is true. That's true. What's the main function of cholesterol?
They produce something.
They produce steroid hormone. Cholesterol is going to produce the steroid hormone. Okay, without cholesterol, you cannot produce testosterone, you cannot produce estrogen, you cannot produce progesterone, you can't produce the androgen. Okay, so for all of them, their main component to synthesize those steroid hormones are cholesterol molecules. Okay, so cholesterol is essential for them. So cholesterol is also lipid. This is also lipid. That means they are hydrophobic substances and they cross the cell membrane easily without any energy. Okay, without down the
Yes.
concentration gradient. Any questions, guys, regarding the simple diffusion?
Produce hormones.
If you don't have questions, that's good. That means you understood 100% or you haven't understood anything. I hope for the first one. Okay. You can scan this QR code and watch the YouTube video, but I prepared mostly in Uzbek language because we don't have the content who does it. We have a lot of contents which are made in Russian language, but for the Uzbek we don't have. That's why uh, I did in Uzbek. I did the same explanation. Okay. If you have any questions or if you have any doubts with understanding, you can go to this link and watch. Okay, I have attached an assignment also to the Google Classroom. Please do your assignment. Today you have assignment, tomorrow, and on Monday also you will have an assignment. Okay, you have to go to the assignment section and you have to attach the file. Follow the instructions, please. Okay, my next question is, guys. My next question is, will be, what do you think? How the water molecules or hydrophilic substances are going to cross the membrane? How? Guys, come on, how? With special channels, right? With special channels, we talked about it. With special channels, let's learn those channels. So this is the second version of the diffusion. This is called facilitated diffusion. So what's the meaning of facilitate? What's the meaning of facilitate?
Help.
Of course, facilitate means help. So something is
Like
helping us. Uh-huh.
like make something like easier to do.
They help hydrophilic substances getting into the cell. They help hydrophilic substances because hydrophilic substances, they cannot cross the membrane, right? They cannot cross the hydrophobic tails. So we need special channels like this. We need the special channels. We need special channels like this in order to make substances to go inside. So we need the help of protein. We need the help of protein make up the cell membrane that can help move substances across the lipid bilayer. As you can see here, we have the protein channels. They're called channel proteins or carrier proteins. Okay, they're going to carry or they're going to transport the hydrophilic substances. There are pores inside. There are pores in the channel. This is the channel, and inside the channel, we have the pores. They're going to move through these pores into the cell. And this kind of diffusion is called simple diffusion. Okay, this kind of diffusion is called facilitated. The type of the simple diffusion, the type of the simple transport. Okay, as you can see here in this image, we have the simple diffusion, that the substances, oxygen, carbon dioxide, steroid hormones, and cholesterol, are going to move directly through the membrane into the cell. This is simple diffusion. And another version is hydrophilic substances. Hydrophilic substances, they use the help of the protein channels, this is channels, in order to move substances from outside of the cell to inside of the cell. This is called facilitated diffusion. And both of them are in the category of the passive transport, and both of them are examples to the passive transport. So two examples for the passive transport is simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion. What do you think? Do they use the energy? What do you think? Do they use the energy? Do those channels use energy?
No, maybe they don't need energy.
They don't need energy. Why, Mahbuba? Why they don't need energy?
I think due to you told that they need help of proteins. Maybe
Uh-huh.
this is the answer, like because of proteins.
They work for Asrochka, right? So you're going to give the energy later. Am I right?
I don't know.
I wanted to hear from you one thing, the concentration again. As you can see in this image, the substances are moving from higher concentration to the lower concentration. That means you have a cheap film in the cinema. Imagine you have a cheap film. This is the film. I don't know what kind of film, the cheapest film. Uh, what they're going to do is that it's very cheap. This is very cheap, and they make the school children, they make the school students to go this cinema, right? So students from the higher concentration are going to the lower concentration because this is the cheap movie. Nobody is going to this theater or to this film, and they are forcing the school children to go to this movie, right? For free, for free. It also looks like this.
Mhm.
From the higher concentration, they're moving to the lower concentration. This is free of charge. No energy required when the concentration is moving from the high to the low. Got this point? So facilitated diffusion
Yes.
also means moving of substances from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. Got this point? And facilitate means help. And the helper proteins form the pores. There are pores in the proteins. They across the membrane. So in the membranes, we have special proteins across the membrane, and they are highly specific. What's the meaning of highly specific? Highly specific means they are specialized to substances. For example, we have the protein channels, which transport only water molecules. We have specialized channels, which transport only sodium ions. We have specialized channels, which transport only potassium channels, like Panish bliss, okay? So they are hyperproteins, they are highly specific. Specific means they specifically transport specific substances. They might allow sodium but to cross, but not the potassium. Here, as you can see, they only letting to pass only the yellowish or uh, the yellowish molecules. For example, that might be sodium. They're only passing the sodium molecules inside of the cell. You know what sodium, right? From the
Yes.
chemistry lecture. Sodium is an element, and this channel is only passing the potassium. They are only transporting the potassium into the cell. That means they are highly specific. Okay, for example, carrier proteins for the water, specialized specifically for the water, is aquaporins. Aquaporins are water molecules that they are specialized. So aquaporins are what they transport the water molecules. Where do you think the aquaporins are more in our body? Where? Where in our cell? Where in our body we have a lot of aquaporins? Where the water is a lot. Where in our body the water is a lot? Come on, doctor, dentist, dear doctors and dentists, our future colleagues.
In
Throat,
eyes, in brain.
eyes,
In the brain, yes, in the eyes can be, and also in kidneys. They filter your blood. They remove the urine. They remove the
Mhm.
urine. You know what's urine?
No.
Yeah.
Urine means matcha. Okay,
Uh.
matcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so they remove the urine from your body. That means a lot of water molecules are going to be filtered through your kidneys. Kidney means почки. Where they are located? Kidney.
In stomach.
Stomach. It's in the stomach.
In our back.
Yes.
They are inside the stomach, right? The stomach is digesting the kidney. Oh my God, dear my colleagues, my future colleagues. These are the kidneys. As you can see here, the kidneys, they are located in 2 points. These are kidneys. They're located at the back part of your body, not inside the stomach. So these are the kidneys. As you can see here, this is the male kidney. This is the female kidney. So these kidneys are going to filter the urine. As you can see here, they're going to filter the urine. We will have this lecture after a couple of days. So you will know about it very soon. Okay, this is the structure of the kidney inside. So they're going to remove the urine outside. So aquaporins are a lot in the kidneys. Any question so far? If you don't have questions, I'm going to introduce the substances which can cross through these protein channels. The first is sodium. This is charged ion. It has a charge. Potassium. This is potassium. It has also charge. And calcium. Why we need the calcium?
For our question.
For our
Tell I don't know, question.
for our bones, for the bone structure.
Bones. Yeah.
You know the band called Bones? There is a band, music band called Bones.
I just forgot the word. Question.
Okay, bones. Yes, and the bones. And all ions that carry the charge, they're going to move through this facilitated diffusion. That means they are all hydrophilic. They are all hydrophilic and not hydrophobic. They cannot directly cross the membrane. They use special channels. And of course, the glucose molecule. What's glucose? What
Sugar.
is glucose? Glucose is sugar, simple sugar. Everything that you eat bread, you eat cookies, you drink coffee, you drink juices, you drink Coca-Cola, you drink Pepsi-Cola, you drink Cola. That everything contains the glucose molecules, the sugar molecules, okay? And every sugar molecule is going to cross through protein channel, okay? And of course, the water molecules as well. The water also goes inside of the cell, inside of the cell with specialized channels. Okay? Any questions so far? You have to know which substances can cross through passive diffusion, which substances are crossing with facilitated diffusion, and which substances are crossing with active diffusion, which substances are crossing through bulk pump. Any questions from this slide? This is a one slide, but from out of one slide, we talked a lot of information. So it's suggested to make notes or re-watch the video if you haven't done the notes, okay? Make notes, you will learn a lot at the end. You will be almost doctors, better than our doctors who are sitting in polyclinics. Any questions? Dear doctors, my colleagues, any questions? Can we move to next slide?
Yes.
Okay. This is a video only specialized to facilitated diffusion. It's not the advertisement you can watch if you haven't understood, but it's in Uzbek, but the slides are same in English. So active transport. So what do you understand with active transport? What do you understand with active transport?
It requires more energy.
It requires energy. It's not about the more energy. It is just energy. They require the energy to cross. The passive diffusion haven't required any energy. So the facilitated diffusion also didn't require the energy. But the active transport always requires the energy. What energy? How the energy in our body exists?
By food.
Huh?
Food.
Food.
By food we
How the
consume. We have energy from food.
yes, you eat, you drink, right? For the energy purposes, nothing more. So you drink, you eat, you earn money, you go to restaurant, you eat, right? So that means you eat because to make the energy. But how that energy is going to be used? It's going to convert into ATP. You know what's ATP? Do you know what's ATP? ATP means adenosine
Three
phosphate.
something, yeah?
3-phosphate, adenosine 3-phosphate. This is the energy which is stored in phosphate molecules. We have the phosphate molecules, right? Uh, this is the phosphate molecule. We have the energy stored in this phosphate molecules. We have three this kind of phosphate molecules. So these phosphate molecules, when we remove each phosphate molecule, we're going to get the energy. We will learn about it in cellular respiration, but you know that the ATP is source of the energy. Okay, so this ATP molecule is going to act to the membrane. They're going to act to the membrane and force the molecules to get inside. So in active transport, as you can see, there are less molecules in outside and more molecules inside. So it's the good movie. The good film is going on in the cinema. Imagine the good movie, for example. Which movie? Which movie is popular now?
Substantia.
Huh?
Substantia. Substantial.
Substantial?
Do you mean this one?
It doesn't matter. Any film. For example, King Kong, right? For example, King Kong, the new release of the King Kong, the fourth movie maybe. So what's going to happen? A lot of people are going to go to the cinema. A lot of people, and there is no space inside. There is no space. There is no space, or someone got that place. Someone got the ticket, but haven't come to the cinema. What? And one pair, one pair came to the cinema, and they really want to watch film. What they're going to do? They're going to do production. They're going to give extra money, right? To get into the cinema. They're going to give extra money. That means they are using the energy, they're giving the energy. So that means in the cell also, when substances move from the lower concentration to the higher concentration, that means against the concentration gradient. When the substances move against the concentration gradient, in this case, the cell requires the energy. The cell is going to use the energy to move from lower concentration to the higher concentration. This process is called active transport. And this process is called active transport. active transport requires the energy. Can move, they move against, this is important, they move against the concentration gradient, and they rely on membrane proteins. They rely on the membrane proteins. It doesn't matter whether the substance is hydrophobic or hydrophilic. It doesn't matter the substance is hydrophilic or the substance is hydrophobic. If the substance is going from the lower concentration to the higher concentration, that means they use energy, okay? It doesn't matter whether the substance is hydrophilic or hydrophobic in this case. Any questions? Any questions so far? No? Can we move?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and then the bulk transport. This is the transport of the large molecules across the cell. This is the transport of the large molecules across the cell. It's called the bulk transport. So we have two types actually of the large molecule transport. The first is endocytosis. The second is exocytosis. So endocytosis, endo means inside, moving substances, moving large substances into the cell. Moving of large substances into the cell is called endocytosis. And removing of the large substances outside the cell is called exocytosis. For example, the insulin, where the insulin is produced in our body. What do you think? Where the insulin is produced? In the pancreas, поджелудочная железа. In the pancreas, you make the insulin. What's going to do? This insulin molecule is going to be moved from the cell to the outside. This process is called exocytosis, moving of substances from inside of the cell to the outside. This is called exocytosis. So there are two types of the endocytosis. The first is phagocytosis. This is the cell eating. The second is pinocytosis. That means cell drinking. The liquid molecules are going to go into the cell. Pinocytosis and hard substances are going to go. Hard, large substances inside the cell are going to go to inside. This is called phagocytosis. And we have exocytosis, which go outside of the cell. Let's learn the example for this. For example, the example for the endocytosis is the first is phagocytosis. We said that the cell eating. The second version of the endocytosis is pinocytosis, which means cell drinking. In the phagocytosis, white blood cells, what are the white blood cells in our bodies? What are the white blood cells?
It is where like immune system
Immune
is.
sick.
And yes, your immune cells are called white blood cells. For example, one example to the immune cells is macrophage. This is macrophage. So what's going to do macrophage? This is this kind of molecule. This is the macrophage. Imagine this is the macrophage. What's going to do? And imagine we have so-called coronavirus. Imagine this is the coronavirus. Right? This is the virus. So what's going to do? This molecule, this macrophage, this is your white blood cell. The white blood cell is going to come and they're going to come and engulf that bacteria. It's going to eat that bacteria. Okay? They're going to eat that bacteria. And this macrophage comes and eats this bacteria, your white blood cell. This is called phagocytosis. This process is called phagocytosis, engulfing the bacteria that you get when you have common cold. and taking the viruses that might harm to you, and they're going to destroy them. And inside of the macrophage, we have special enzymes fermenters, special enzymes, which is going to kill that virus or bacteria. Okay. Any examples? Any questions so far? Oh, to the phagocytosis, another example is amoebas. What are the amoebas? Imagine this is
The
uh,
simplest.
a simple cell organisms. Imagine this is what? This is amoeba. Imagine this is the amoeba. What the amoeba is going to do? This is amoeba. If this amoeba sees any kind of food, if we have, for example, the food particle, if it's a food, imagine this is the food. Okay, imagine this is food. If we have any kind of food which amoeba love, imagine this is food. This is food. What it's going to do? It's going to catch that food, right? It's going to catch this amoeba. It's going to go to the food and watch. And what's going to do? It is going to engulf it. It's going to engulf. It's going to eat it. Okay. If it eats it, this is called also phagocytosis. This is another example for the amoeba. And example to the pinocytosis. Pinocytosis is cell drinking. You have the intestinal cells. What's intestine? What's intestinal cell? What do you understand by intestinal cell? Intestine means pişivot, check. Okay. Imagine you have intestinal cells. You have intestine, right? Imagine this is your intestine, and inside of the intestine, you have specialized cells, intestinal cells. We call them intestinal cells. This is inside of the intestine, and inside you can see the cells. These are the intestinal cells inside of your what? Intestine. Okay, what they're going to do? They're going to, these are the cells, intestinal cells, intestinal cells. So when the nutrient comes, when the nutrient or water molecule, imagine when the water molecule or when the liquid, is going to come, they're going to do what? What they're going to do? They're going to absorb it. But how they are absorbing? If inside we have cells, intestinal cells, what they're going to do? They're going to absorb that nutrient. They're going to absorb. But how the absorption process is going to happen? The absorption process is going to happen like this. Like they're going to absorb. Please just, they're going to absorb. Let me remove this one. So they're going to absorb. How the absorption is happening? Like this. It's absorbed, and we have the blood vessels here. We have specialized blood vessels. Then they're going to be absorbed into the blood vessels. So this process is called pinocytosis, cell drinking. Or your kidney cells. You have the kidney, and in the kidney cells, you have, imagine this is your kidney, this is the kidney cells. It looks like a bean. What's going to happen inside of the kidneys? We have water molecules, we might have the glucose, we might have the protein, and all of them will be absorbed into the bloodstream, into the blood. All of them will be absorbed into the bloodstream, reabsorbed again in order to remove it with urine. You won't remove the glucose molecules which are inside of your body. You want to get outside them with urine, okay? So it will be reabsorbed to the water. This is also called the process pinocytosis. So exocytosis means releasing of the substances or expelling of the substances, blood substances out of the cell. Example is pancreatic cells. You know what pancreas? You have, imagine you have the stomach. This is your stomach, желудок, right? And under the stomach, you have special organ which is called pancreas, поджелудочная железа. This is called pancreas. This is the pancreas. And inside of the pancreas, you synthesize the insulin. There are cells which are called endocrine cells, which are called beta cells, and these cells are going to release insulin. They're going to release the insulin hormone, and this insulin hormone is going to be released into the bloodstream again. They're going to be released. This insulin goes to the blood again. So the function of the insulin, when you eat, you release the glucose. When you eat, you release the glucose, and this glucose molecule will be converted into glycogen. For further usage. This glycogen, for example, you eat a lot, you have a lot of glucose molecules in the blood, and what this organism is going to do, it's going to preserve this glucose molecule for further usage. For example, when you fast, when you eat a lot in the morning during fasting, what the body is going to do, they release, first of all, insulin. This insulin gets the glucose molecule. This is the glucose. They're going to get this glucose molecule. And this glucose molecule is going to go to the liver and they're going to go to the muscle cells. They're going to go to the muscle cells, and there they will be stored. And there they will be stored. Okay? They will be stored there in the liver and in the muscle as a glycogen. As a glycogen that we will. So imagine this is liver. Liver means patient, and muscle. Muscle means muscle. This is the exocytosis. So insulin is released from the cell. Insulin is released from the cell. The insulin is a large hormone. This is hormone. This molecule will be released like this. Like this, it will be released to outside, like insulin. And a lot of other molecules. Another example is neurons. We will learn during the neuronal system when we learn about the neurons. We're going to talk about them. So the neuronal cells, the neurons, this is the neuron, imagine. The neuronal cells are going to release acetylcholine. This is a small substance, the acetylcholine, to the muscles. They're going to release acetylcholine to your muscles. Imagine this is the muscle cell. They're going to release acetylcholine. This is the neurotransmitter which contracts your muscles. So when you contract your muscles, сокращение means when you contract your muscles, you do any job, you're moving your muscles. Okay. So because of neurotransmitters, they are also released from your neuron cells. Imagine I have a lot of neurotransmitters. They will be in the neurons, in the neural cells, so they will be released into the bloodstream, and they're going to activate the muscle cells. Okay, so they will contract them. What salivary glands? You know salivary glands? The слюнные железа, they secrete the enzymes. For example, the amylase. We will learn it during digestive system. They're going to synthesize the amylase, and this amylase is going to break down your carbohydrates. They're going to break down your углеводы, your carbs, your carbohydrates in the mouth. Okay, these are all examples to the exocytosis. You have to know those examples. Okay, so any questions? Any questions? You're still alive?
Yes, we are. It's low-key
Okay.
hard. Too much information at once.
Was it a lot?
Yeah, like
How
different
others?
topics. We came from testosterone to digesting system.
We will cover everything. This is just the beginning. The beginning is mostly will be always general. Okay. When we will have those systems, we will repeat. I will ask you questions from exocytosis,
Is it like a
endocytosis, from
summary?
steroid. This is the just beginning of our class. This is the second lecture, but in the 12th lecture, I'm 100% sure that you will know most of the things. For example, while we have the digestive system, I will ask you about the intestinal health. I will ask you what's endocytosis, how the water molecule is going to move into the intestinal cells. You have to answer like endocytosis. Endocytosis, which of the endocytosis I will ask? Is it phagocytosis or pinocytosis? And you will tell me that was pinocytosis. Just if you have too much information, as I just did, I have recorded this lecture. You can just open it again. You can just take notes. I suggest you take notes each lecture. Okay. How are the teachers doing their lectures? Isn't it too much information for them?